So today I got kind of a fun one. I am going to be reacting to something on TikTok. A server
This is coming from me, a restaurant server. I see this shit every day, okay? So don't get offended if you're on this list. If you are, so be it. Move on. It's all good.
talked about the worst possible customers that could come into a restaurant. And I, being a back of house manager, being a sous chef, I want to give my own take on this. So this is going to be something I've watched it once all the way through and then downloaded it. So I'm going to be responding to the things that are in this. So with that being said, let's get this underway.
Number one are going to be the people that come in to eat right before a restaurant closes. I'm talking, you know that the place closes at 10 p.m. and your ass is walking in at 9:58 being like, yeah, table for six. And before you get your panties all in a twist.
Well, before you get your panties, I'm about to get my panties in a twist. Okay, so here's the thing. So there's two thoughts on this. Coming in with a large group of people 5 minutes before close is really the same problem with being rude as if you were to come in with a large group of people like a 12 top or even bigger anytime without calling ahead first. That is a problem. What this person's talking about, though, on average, is just people showing up just before close. And the same thing that I say to the cooks, 10 o'clock, assuming closing time is 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock is when we stop serving customers. That's not when you get to go home. And that's it. 10 o'clock is when the kitchen closes down and we are no longer serving food. There might even still be people in the restaurant sitting and eating at that time. So I think that is an important distinction to make. A lot of people have this misconception that 10 o'clock means they got all their closing duties done and now they get to go home, and now they're complaining because that clean thing that they had is now dirty. And it sucks because now I have to clean it all over again. Well, you shouldn't have cleaned it in the first place. I'm not completely saying screw that guy, what I will say is I liken it to maybe you have a good friend and you know that friend goes to bed at 10 o'clock. Showing up at your friend's house at 9:58, just before he's about to go to bed, he's your friend. Of course he's going to let you in. Of course you're going to talk about what you need to talk about. Whatever's going on. Like, he's a good friend to you. He lets you in. But that doesn't mean he doesn't want to go to bed. So from that perspective, I can kind of see it, But from the hospitality perspective, I think it's really important because that one time is, I believe in word of mouth above all. I think that is the most important thing for a restaurant. You got the word of mouth on your side, then you have it, right? And that's another thing is if you're regularly having a lot of people come in at that time, I would probably consider extending the hours just a little bit because that's more money, right? And I'm looking at this from a leadership perspective rather than a cook's perspective. You can cut staff, you can, go down to a partial menu. There's a lot of things that you can do, but I don't know, just something to keep in mind.
Number two are the people that will go to eat at a restaurant, and when they are done eating, I'm talking they've already paid, they will just sit there for an hour or 2 hours just talking and taking up valuable space for that restaurant. So we legit have a name for these types of people. They're called campers. Why? Because it's like you're literally setting up camp. Number three are the, oh, we know the manager or we know the owner of the restaurant. Good, so do we. We don't care. What, do you think you get special privileges because you know the name of the owner of the restaurant?
Yeah, so with this one, 100%. There are two types of people that know the owners. There are the people that come in claiming to know the owners, and then there's the owner coming to you saying, take care of those people. Those are very different people. Most of the time, a lot of the times, they're liars. They're leeching off the business. And what I mean by that is they come in and they say they know the owner, but they maybe just know of the owner, or they know the owner, but the owner didn't really tell them that they got to come in there and eat for free or get some kind of special discount or something like that. They're just assuming that you'll take care of them by discounting or comping food or giving them extra desserts or something like that, like they're entitled to it. And this actually pisses me off on a completely different level, because I know people that own businesses. And one of the worst things that you can do, and this happens a lot with family and friends, is try to get things for free from that business, because all you're doing is you're not supporting the business. You're taking advantage of a friend. If you want to support the business, come in and have a dining experience and pay like everybody else. Now, like I said, the exception to this is if the owner walks in, we're going to be opening soon. He goes up to you and he's like, hey, I have a party of 4 coming in. They are very important to me. Their food's already paid for. Don't worry about it. They're going to be in around this time. If you could do XYZ, that would be fantastic. Totally different story, right? Then you take care of them. You give them everything they want. But as far as somebody, just some rando just coming in and saying they know the owner, it's like, yeah, whatever, dude.
Number four are the groups of people that bring their wild and crazy children into a restaurant and then automatically assume that the workers of that restaurant are going to become like your babysitters for the evening.
Oh, yeah. So as a customer, that pisses me off. And that actually does impact the business in a negative way, because it also impacts the perception that the guests have of that business, right? You have a situation where somebody brings in their misbehaved bratty kids. I'm not talking about kids in general. Parent myself, I totally understand. But you have to actually be a parent when you bring your kids out to a place, right? And part of that is making sure that they aren't going and dumping. There was one time this kid dumped salt all over the table and was doing like kinetic sand art with it and thought it was fucking hilarious. And then the servers have to take care of that. And then those people probably aren't even going to tip anyway, right? And throwing god awful fits, being obnoxious. Now, I will, like I said, I will make an exception. Parents have a right to go out and enjoy themselves. They also should be being parents while they are out. Now, it's one thing, I'm not talking about you're out with your 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and they start crying and stuff like that. Kids do shit like that, okay? I'm not talking about that. Like, sometimes it's a little hard to deal with in a restaurant setting. Sometimes it can feel embarrassing, especially to like new parents. I'm talking about the ones that are literally being terror asses, running around the restaurant, bothering the customers. And not only that, but it's a safety hazard. If those kids are running around all over the place, you don't know what they're getting into. Kids are dirty, right? They got like boogers and stuff on their hands. They sneeze directly in their hands and wipe it on people. They cough in people's face. They go around touching the silverware, unwrapping stuff, touching tables. We don't know what's contaminated and what's not at that point. So there is a lot of bad things that come from specifically bad parents bringing their kids in. But I know none of you guys are bad parents. You guys are awesome parents, or you wouldn't be watching my channel. Anyways, let's go on.
Number five are those people that walk into a restaurant at a place where you need to wait to be seated. They'll happen to see a table that's open, but it's actually dirty from the previous people that were just sitting there. They'll go sit at that table and then get mad because nobody is coming by to take their order. I know common sense is not that common these days, but if you go sit at a table that is dirty, okay, all you're going to do is signify to the bussers that are walking around that you were that table that made that mess, and they're just waiting for you to get up. Sitting at a table that you shouldn't sit at by skipping the people who were actually waiting for that table, it just makes you look like a dork.
I seen this, even gotten Yelp reviews on this before, and those are probably one of the worst kinds of people. They are absolutely insufferable. So remember before when I talked about the 16 table sections, 4 tables, blah, 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 blah. So we have like Ryan and Jessica are 2 of the servers, and they each have a 4 table section. We're not going to talk about the other 2 servers for now. So Ryan has 4 full tables, and then one of those tables gets up and leaves. Now, there is a process of resetting, of turning the table. Remember that term I used? They turn the table, the bussers come and gather stuff, they walk over there, and they sanitize the table, they sanitize the booth, at least they're supposed to, they reset the silverware, they whatever crap goes on the table, if there's some tent banner things, salt, pepper shakers, all of that kind of stuff. They fully reset the table, and then the host will then seat them at that table, or that host will take them to Jessica's section, who doesn't have any tables. Usually that's how they'll alternate. Jessica, Ryan, and that means that service is maintained, right? So that dirty table, there probably won't be anybody sat there for a while. The next people getting sat are going to go into Jessica's section, because that way they can seat them fast. Then that table gets turned. The next table is going to go into Ryan's section. And it's going to keep alternating, right? That is the flow. That's the whole reason why you have a host. They look at the chart. There's a chart usually on the podium thing, or lectern, whatever. There's a chart, and the chart has Jessica, Ryan, Bob, Susan, whatever. And the tables are filled in. This table is being used. This one is not being used. And they are basically like a strategist. And they strategize of where to seat people. They bring them their water. They bring them the menus. Your server is Jessica. She's going to be with you shortly. Blah, 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 blah. When you go and just sit down at a dirty table, bussers don't know what the host is doing. They don't need to know. Their job is dirty table. No one's at it. Go take care of it. That's it. So a busser, he's absolutely right. A busser is going to walk by and see 4 people sitting at a dirty ass table and think, they've been there for a long time, unless they happen to have seen the previous people walk out. You know what I'm saying? But generally speaking, they're going to think that they're not going to come over there. You might have people pre-bussing the table, the pre-bussing where they grab like the plates and stuff like that. But they're not going to fully come over there in the middle of interrupting somebody's dinner service to go screw around with the table and mess with everything while you're trying to have a conversation. It's rude, right? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is it throws off the rotation, the table rotation. And in order, like what the server will do after they seat them and get them their water, they say, Jessica will be your server. They go to Jessica. Hey, I sat you at table 3. They said that they need a minute to order, blah, blah, blah. Basically they debrief them, or they brief them on the situation, tell them, who's there generally, and blah, 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 what has been done, what hasn't been done. Then Jessica finishes putting in her order, and then she walks up to the table, greets herself, and takes the order. Like, there's a whole process that is involved with this. So when you decide to run past the sign, not you directly, again, you wouldn't be watching this channel if you were one of those people. Run past the wait to be seated sign and just go sit somewhere. You know what's going to happen? You know what's really going to happen? Ryan probably saw you sit down at that table. And by the rules of the restaurant, he technically doesn't have to do anything. And what he's going to do is he's going to go to the front of house manager. And the front of house, he's going to go talk to he's going to be like, hey, so there was these 2 boomers that just came in, and they just went down and sat at table 6. And it hasn't been bussed. It hasn't been taken care of at all yet. They just walk, and they'll be like, they just walked past the sign. Yeah, they just went and sat down. Like that's going to be the conversation. So then the manager is probably going to go up to the table and have a conversation with them. And depending on the personality of that manager, they're either going to explain, the situation, whatever they're going to do. That's their job. They're going to handle that. And then Ryan's probably not going to mess with that table for a while. They're either going to stay seated there until Ryan's ready to serve them. They're going to get up and go to a table that's clean, or some amalgamous thing. I'm just making this whole situation up, so I don't know how that would be dealt with. It's a case-by-case basis. But yeah, most of the time they are going to maliciously not take your order because they don't want you to think that it's okay for you, particularly if you become a regular, to just go in and sit down whenever you want to. Anyways, let's move on to the next one.
Number 6, we need to cool it on the amount of split checks that we're doing, okay? If you got a small group going out to eat and you split it between 1 or 2 different cards, fine, that's easy. But I'm talking about the groups of like 10 to 12 people that go to a busy restaurant on like a Friday night or a Saturday night, and they expect their bill to be split 12 separate ways. 4 of you guys are going to be paying with a gift card. 3 of you are going to be paying with cash.
That's really more of a convenient thing for the front of house and for the line afterwards. Because realistically, it's not that big of a deal. The people at the front get paid by the hour, right? It doesn't matter to them if you're going to be splitting things up 1,000 ways in that sense. But it is going to matter to the customers behind you when you have a 12 top and you can't get them out of there because you literally have to cash each individual person out. And they all have different payment methods and they all have different amounts that they're doing and this and that. And then you have to run down the ticket and be like, oh, did you have the shrimp platter? Okay, it's going to be this and this. Okay, are you having this drink and that drink? And they got to do that with each individual person. That's going to take a long fucking time. And if you only have like 2 registers open at once, most of those other people are going to go over there while you're still handling this person. And sometimes the servers will be the ones checking people out. Like, there's not always a situation where they have like dedicated cashiers. So that's also time that's being taken away from their tables. So while it is a courtesy thing, it's mostly a courtesy to the other guests that are there, less so the cashiers. That's just like if you have a really complicated order. Okay, here would be a cook example of this. If there was a 12 top and most of them ordered salads, but a couple people ordered a well-done 8-ounce filet. We're not allowed to butterfly the steaks. That's like a 35-minute ticket. Most of those salads, we could probably have, 10 salads out within 15 minutes. Probably faster than that, depending on how many people are working. Like salads do not take any time at all. But now, with those huge-ass steaks, everybody else has to wait for those steaks to be done. So we're not even going to start those salads till like halfway through the cooking process of those 2 fillets because we need to sear them and then we need to put them in the oven and then we need to temp them out and make sure they're good, and blah, 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 and then the rest of the sides and all that other stuff. And then the grill guy is going to call down, hey, I'm 15 minutes out on those steaks. You can start in on those salads now. And then we start the salads. But it put everybody else that's waiting for food behind. It's something that doesn't bother me. We're cooks, get paid by the hour. Shit happens all the time. Whatever. Anyways, next one. I guess this is the last one too.
Lastly are going to be the serial complainers, okay? You know who you are. I'm talking about the people that, can you turn down the AC? It's too cold.
Yeah, so the exception being, when it's not complainers, but people, if you can cook it with this and that, sometimes that's an allergen thing. But as far as what he's talking about with serial complainers, I'm going to let you in on a secret. We know who you are. We know exactly who you are. And we make fun of you when you come in. We take bets on what you're going to complain about. Because we know what you're doing. You come in and you complain about something because you expect a discount. It worked the first time. Maybe it worked the second time. Third time you come in, we know who you are. And that's why you get the 1% discount or maybe the 5% discount here and there. Because we'll eat that like 1%, right? Who cares? It satisfies you. You're not happy because you wanted more, but you know that we already did something, and if they don't, it's like take it or leave it kind of a thing. You get your meal comped the first time, and then the second or third time, we catch on, and we know what's going on. And usually, what'll end up happening is that the front of house manager will spot you. Not you, again. I keep saying you. It's the metaphorical you. We'll spot them. That sounds better. They will spot them coming in, waiting to be sat. The front of house manager may even come back into the kitchen, be like, hey, You know that old couple that complains every single time they come in? The one that took her hair and put it on the plate and tried to get the steak for free the other day? Yeah, she's here right now. This is a heads up. Just do what you can to make the food good, but I'm sure there's going to be something that they bitch about. We'll just stand by. And the manager will probably end up taking that table, because every time they've come in, they've said something about the server, or they said something about the food, or they said something about the dusty blinds, or the piece of straw that was on the floor. It's always something, right? And I think that those people and the people with the kids are probably the two absolute worst people to have at a restaurant at any given time. They're so bad. The other ones, kind of minor inconvenience. Some of them don't even affect the back of house at all. But generally speaking, I would say that those two were probably my top two worst customers of all time. Have you had any negative experiences with customers in that kind of way? Who are your worst customers? Do you agree with the list, or would you add any to the list? Let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, let me know what you thought about the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great day.